Okay, let's go over your Thursday night homework. Okay, so the first question was to find the difference. Remember, the difference is the answer to a subtraction problem, but it's also just how different are they. You can figure that out by subtracting. So we had 5 1/10 minus 2 85 hundredths. So remember, we need to line up our decimals. So if I write this correctly, my 2 would need to go under the 5 because it would be in the ones place, and then 85 hundredths, like so. And then if I leave it like this, though, that wouldn't be right? So what do I need to do? Put a 0 here. And then, so should I just drop my 5? No, that would not be right. So we borrow from the 1. So instead of 1, we have 0. Instead of 0, we have 10 because we borrowed a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. Can't do 0 minus 8. So we borrow 1, give it to this guy. 10 minus 8 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. Our decimal goes in one straight line. 2 and 25 hundredths. Okay, so next we have our quotient. So 32 goes into 1,472. And I know a lot of you still think that these large divisor problems are too hard for you, but I really am here to tell you, I don't think they are. I think you just have to give it a try. Use your guess and check strategies. Just try it. I notice a lot of people are still trying to add up a bunch, and that's not really a good use of your time. It's not that it won't work, but there's faster ways to get there, and I worry about this because I think people will add incorrectly, and then you'll get the whole thing wrong. So that works when you're only doing a few numbers, like if you're just doing 32 times 2 or 32 plus 32. But if you're doing it a lot, or you're finding that you're adding, and you're not getting to what you need, you should just multiply. That's really the strategy you want. And hopefully by now, multiplying is quick and easy for you. Okay, so 32 does not go into 1. 32 also does not go into 14. So we're going all the way over to 147. Okay, so I would use 30 to help us estimate here and think 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. And the way I'm counting that is I'm thinking about my counting by threes. 30, 60, 90, 120, 3, 6, 9, 12, 150. So 150 seems close to this, but because this is 32 and not 30, that makes me think it's going to be this one, which is times 4. So I'm going to go over to the side and try. Normally I wouldn't erase that, but you won't be able to see it if I do. So I'm going to try 32 times 4 and see if that's close enough. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. I get 128. Yeah, I mean, if you were doing this on your own, it would be okay to add one more set just to check that it won't go up. 8 plus 2 is 10. 3 plus 2 plus 2 is 160. Right. So that's what I thought. It won't fit that way. So it's going to be times 4, which was 128. We subtract. You could borrow or you could count up. I'm going to count up because 128 to 138 is 10. 148 would be 20, but it's 147, so it's 19 left over. If you borrowed, you still should have gotten 19. And then 192, well, that seems awful close to this, doesn't it? I wonder if I add 32 more. Oh my gosh, it's almost exactly like the one from Tuesday. I wonder if the person who created this homework planned it that way. You should ask her when you see her. So 32 times not 4, not 5, because that was this, but times 6. There you go. That's it. Okay, now I've got my little ruler and graph to help us here. Switch to a pencil. Okay, so we're supposed to measure to the nearest 1/4 of an inch, which, remember, if we're marking the half marks, here's the halves, and then the 1/4 are the second longest line. So 1/4, half, 3/4. Let's ask ourselves how many whole inches we think it's going to be. Is it 1 whole inch? Yes, because it goes past it. Is it 2 whole inches? It's not past it, right? So I would say it's kind of close to 2 inches, but it's definitely not past it. So let's look and see if it's going to be 1 something or if 2 is the closest. Man, that's like really just right about here, isn't it? which really is right in the middle. So I'll take 2 answers on this one. I would take 2 inches because it splits the difference here, or I'd also take this one. So what fraction would this mark be? Remember, this is 1 whole. This would be 1/4, 2/4, which is half, 3/4. So 1 3/4 or 2 inches. Okay. And just to kind of preview next week, if we look at the next longest lines, which are these that are between every fourth, if we cut 4 in half, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eighths. So really that's an eighth, but we'll save that for next week. Okay, and then this one looks like, I would say it's this one, because it's either this or this. So I would say this mark. So it's not even 1 whole inch, so it's just going to be a fraction. So it's not 1/4, it's not 1/2, but it would be 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and then our last one is this graphing question. So remember, over and then up and put a dot. Over and then up and put a dot. So 5, 5, over 5, up 5, put a dot. Let me show you really fast what you're going to work on today since I'm not here. I want you to practice these mystery graphs because, yes, they can be fun. I think they're fun. Some people think they're fun. Some people maybe don't. But this is one of our standards. One of our 5th grade standards that they say we 5th graders are supposed to learn is to plot points and make a picture or use a coordinate graph, which is what this is. So this is the one you're going to do today. It has 2 different graphs, and they're pretty simple. I reminded you to go over and up. There's one here, one here. This is the same as what we did in our homework, except for it says connect the points in order. When it says stop, do not connect the last point to the next point. So that means you're going to connect, and then stop. So now you will not connect this point to this one because this says stop, but you connect all of those in order. And then you connect all of these in order, and that's it. And then this picture has a couple more places where it says stop. So connect all of those and then say stop. Now connect 2, and then connect all of those and say stop. They'll make pictures. Hopefully you'll be able to tell what they are. You can use a ruler. You can color the pictures when you finish. You do have to do this. This is your assignment today because this is how I know. Can you do the standard of plotting the points on a coordinate graph? Okay, let's go on to ordering those decimals. So we have 1 and, fractions of decimals. 1 43/100, 8 over 3, 2 200, 1 1/43. Okay, so it looks like we have 1, 1, 2, and then we don't know because remember, it's got a bigger numerator than the denominator. Can you think about in your head, what would you call that kind of fraction? You'd call it an improper fraction. Remember what we did with this earlier this week? We turned it into a mixed number. So let's do that. Remember how we did that? We said how many times does 3 go into 8? 3, 6, 9, 2 times, which is 6, and then 2 more makes 8. So 2 2/3. I'm just going to rewrite that right here so we can remember that that's the same. Okay, so now we have 2 that are 1 and 2 that are 2. Easy. So this is like the one we did earlier this week where really we're just deciding which of these goes first and then which of these goes first because of the whole numbers. So which of these do you think goes first? This one, 1 43/100, or this one, 1 1/43? Well, if I look at this one, I think, that's close to half because half is 1 50/100. Do you think 1 1/43 is close to half? I'm thinking no, because you have one piece and it's the size of a 43rd. Well, the bigger the piece, or the bigger the denominator, the more people you have to share with. I think this is really a tiny, tiny piece. And this is not a tiny piece. This is almost half of the pieces, right? If we're talking about 43/100, close to 50. So I would say that this one is definitely the smallest without doing any math, just doing math thinking. Okay, so now we have to decide between these two, which we think goes next, 2 2/2 or 2 2/3. Again, hopefully you're not having to do a lot of math here, you're just doing some careful thinking. That 2/100 is really small, right? 2 out of 100, that's really not a lot. 2 out of 3, I mean, you can hopefully picture what that looks like. It's more than half. It's not almost a whole, even though it's only missing one piece because that's like a big piece missing. But it's definitely not a little amount, whereas 2 little hundredths is a little amount. So I think that that's pretty clear that 2 2/2 would go next, and then 8/3 would go last. Okay. And then finally, let's look at our bar graph. Our bar graph, if we preview it, it's talking about sports that boys and girls watch. It's comparing the type of sports that boys and girls watch. Okay, so question 1 says how many more boys chose basketball than football? So that means I need to know how many boys chose basketball and how many boys chose football, and then find out how many more chose basketball. So it looks like boys, remember being careful, reading your bar graph carefully. Looks like there were 11 boys who chose basketball and 4 boys that chose football. So how many more? So how many more is 11 than 4? How many more? Think about the difference between them. 4, count up to 11. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 7 more. How many girls are there altogether? Okay, how are we going to figure that one out? Well, the girls are the light ones, so I think we're going to need to look at all of the light colored bars. And since it says all together, we should add them all together. So 17 plus 5 plus 13 plus 3. So remember, look for ones that go together. 17 and 3 go together. Think about why 17 and 3 go together. Can you think in your head? Should be because 7 and 3 make 10, so 17 and 3 makes 20. So 20, 33, 38. 38 girls altogether. What fraction of the girls chose soccer as their favorite sport? What fraction of the girls? Okay, so remember that a fraction is part over whole, like we talked about yesterday. So we already know our whole. If we're talking about how many girls, 38 is our whole. And all we have to do is figure out the part. So we need to see how many chose soccer. 17. So 17 out of 38 girls chose soccer as their favorite sport. And then which sport was the most popular for the boys and which was the least? So the most and the least. So got to look at the boys, so that's the dark bars, and we're looking for the most popular. So the most popular would have the most people who chose it. So it looks like soccer is the most popular because that bar is the tallest. And the least popular looks like football because that bar is the lowest. Okay. Please give your homework to whatever teacher you have during this time for math. If it is not finished, do not turn it in. Make sure you do it over the weekend and bring it to me on Monday. And otherwise, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys Monday. Hope you're having a great day. Make good choices.